Chapter 4: Active and Passive Voice. Consider the following sentences. Geeta wrote a letter. Active voice. A letter is written by Geeta. Passive voice. There is no difference in the meanings of these two sentences. These are simply two different ways of saying the same thing. But in the first sentence, the subject performs the action, while in the second sentence, the subject of the verb is acted upon. Active voice. In active voice, the subject of the sentence performs the action. Active voice is direct and often more engaging because it clearly shows who is doing what. Structure: subject plus verb plus object. For example, the cat, subject, chased, verb, the mouse, object. Passive voice. In passive voice, the subject is acted upon by someone or something else. Passive voice is useful when the focus is on the action or when the doer of the action is unknown or less important. Structure: object plus form of to be verb plus past participle of the main verb plus by plus subject. For example, the mouse, object, was chased, verb, by the cat, subject. Stories, object, are written, verb, by her, subject. Rules for changing active voice to passive voice. Rule 1. Simply exchange the places of the subject and the object. The subject should become the object and vice versa while changing a sentence from active voice to passive voice or vice versa. For example, active voice. She bought a new car. She is the subject and a new car is an object. Passive voice. A new car was bought by her. A new car is a subject and her is the object. Rule 2. Always blindly convert the main verb into its past participle or third form while converting from active to passive voice. To remind you what the third form of a verb looks like, let's look at a few examples. First form, buy. Second form, bought. Third form, bought. First form, sing. Second form, sang. Third form, sung. First form, grow. Second form, grew. Third form, grown. For example, active voice. Mahi wrote a book on gun violence. Passive voice. A book on gun violence was written by Mahi. Rule 3. Use the word by before the subject in the passive sentence. For example, active voice. My sister sang a song. Passive voice. A song was sung by my sister. Rule 4. Change of tense of the auxiliary verb. Now, when you can change the verb form of the main verb, the tense of the auxiliary also changes accordingly. Let's see this with the help of a few examples. Present tense. Active voice. Sun rises from the east. Passive voice. East is where the sun rises from. Past tense. Active voice. She walked my dog home. Passive voice. My dog was walked home by her. Future tense. Active voice. Ankita will do the craft work. Passive voice. Craft work will be done by Ankita. Rule 5. Sometimes you may completely omit the subject from the passive voice. If the idea you're trying to convey is clear, you just have to take a judgment call for that. For example, active voice. Distance is measured in kilometers. Passive voice. Kilometers is a measurement unit for distance. Rule 6. Words like with or to are also used in passive voice. You may recall that we use by quite frequently in an active voice to passive conversion. Active voice. I know her. Passive voice. She is known to me. Active voice. Love fills my heart. Passive voice. My heart is filled with love. Rules for changing passive voice to active voice. Rule 1. Identify the subject, verb, and object. In a passive sentence, the object comes before the verb and the subject, performer of the action, is usually placed after the verb, introduced by. Passive voice. The book was read by the student. Rule 2. Move the subject to the beginning. The subject, performer of the action, from the passive sentence becomes the subject of the active sentence. Active voice. The student read the book. Rule 3. Change the verb form. The verb in a passive sentence usually includes a form of to be. Example, is, was, were, along with the past participle. In the active voice, you remove the to be and use the appropriate verb tense. For example, passive voice. The cake was baked by her. Active voice. She baked the cake. Rule 4. Move the object to its correct position. The object in the passive voice, what the action was done to, becomes the object of the active sentence. For example, passive voice. A song was sung by him. Active voice. He sang a song. Rule 5. Make any necessary tense adjustments. Ensure that the verb tense matches the original meaning. For example, passive voice. The homework will be completed by her. Active voice. She will complete the homework.